We are Lagos Talks 91.3.
Let's talk.
He represents the GTI group, yeah? And he also has a thing or two to say about the product of the GTI group, which is the Nigeria Football Fund, yeah? And this is a registered fund. Please make welcome Nelson Ine. Nelson is...
welcome again.
You're welcome again. He's been here before.
Yeah.
But for today, then.
I know, welcome.
No, welcome again. Welcome again. Welcome.
Okay.
He's the executive director, assets and
GTI Asset Management and Trust Limited.
All right. Good morning, Nelson. How are you?
Good morning, Charles. Good morning, Femi. Good morning, Shegu. Good morning, listeners out there.
in fact, I almost didn't recognize, and that's when I saw it because it was like, wow, dead on time.
Learn from the first time.
Exactly.
Yeah,
First time you were
don't do
late?
the same mistake twice.
Yes, it was.
Oh, okay. All right, Nelson. Quite a number of questions have been asked, about this TNFF and the responsibilities of GTI as a whole. It came as a rude surprise to me when I had a discussion with one of your media representatives, and he said very clearly that GTI is not a sponsor of the Nigerian League. This is the impression that very many people out there have. So if you just want to clear that up for us.
Okay, I think that's a question that has been asked several times, if GTI is a sponsor of the league. No, GTI is a strategic partner of the league. And so as a strategic partner, we're actually working with the football management body to ensure we reposition our league. If you look at the league and other leagues all over the world, what we are just trying to do is to ensure that our league operates in line with best practices in terms of corporate governance, in terms of transparency, in terms of accountability, and also all the other elements that a league requires to grow. Some of those things are missing in our league. The most important thing in all this is the corporate governance structure, the transparency and accountability. Because it's all about trust. You expect the partners to be part of this league, to trust the system locally and internationally, and you expect the system to be very transparent. So there are certain basic things that must be in place. And what we are trying to do is to work with the managers of the league to ensure we put all these things in place.
That's the IMC?
That's the IMC, currently the IMC now. But you see, the IMC arrangement is a temporary arrangement. There's a substantive Nigerian Premier League, which is the incorporated company that is running the league currently, as required by the statute of the Nigerian Football Federation. The IMC is just an interim body of that NPL, Nigerian Premier League. So after the expiration of the term of the IMC, a now substantive body is going to be inaugurated to take over the management of the league. So, and we are going to be working with them for a very long time. We've signed a 10-year contract to ensure that all these things are in place. But you see, now...
Wait, Nelson, just to be sure, are you saying that the IMC at the end of this season will no longer exist?
Yes, their tenure is supposed to lapse at the end of this abridged season. The IMC, as a committee, the interim management committee of the league.
Hence the word interim.
Yes, it's just an interim body to just fix put some basic things, some things in place.
Because I asked this question, because there are rumors out there that even after this season comes to a close, that the Football Federation is working on permanently maybe having the IMC continue the day-to-day running of the Premier League. Hence my question, are you saying that this is confirmation that they will no longer be in existence?
Okay, like you just said, you see, these are decisions for the regulatory, the authorities to take. If the NFF and the Sports Ministry deem it fit for the IMC to continue, fine. And they feel they've done a very good job, which I think they are doing currently, then it's a decision for the NFF to take.
But considering where you're coming from,
yes,
and your intentions, which you will explain to us for Nigerian football, does that sit well with the group?
Yes, it does. We don't have any problem with any board that is incorporated to manage the league. Like I said, the whole thing is designed. We've looked at every aspect of this league, both the structure, the legality, and so many other things you need to consider before we went into this arrangement. So there are quite a lot of things that are in place. So whoever is appointed by the NFF tomorrow to be in charge of the league or is in agreement with the NFF, will definitely work with that group of people.
And that will be in agreement with you because you've talked about transparency, yeah?
Yes, because even if the people coming on board, we're already running on a system and a structure is already in place. And it's so transparent. And what we've done, we've looked at the Nigerian problem critically and we've done quite a lot of work. I must let the public know that we've been working on this project for about 13 years now.
Really?
Yes. Now, we looked at the problem of the Nigerian sports sector. We had to look at our background as investment bankers and also with the knowledge of sports. How do we permanently solve this problem and ensure it is sustainable over time? The Nigerian Football Fund is a mutual specialized fund created to crowdfund, raise funds from the investing public to energize the Nigerian Premier League, because you need some funding to energize the league. You need to energize the league to a level where you start activating the revenue components of the NPFL. Because the NPFL as a sports property has capacity to generate lots of revenues if properly organized, managed, and all the elements are in place, which is what we are working on. So the Nigerians is the Nigerian investors that are funding this league now through the vehicle of the Nigerian Football Fund. These are not grants. It's not donation to the league. It's purely an investment because we know the league has capacity to generate revenue to pay back these investors and also give them returns, ROI on their investment. If you look at, for example, I always want to make example of other leagues in the world. Let us take 3 leagues as a classical case. Let's look at EPL, which is football. Look at NBA, which is basketball. And look at the Indian Premier League, which is cricket. They all run on the same business. They all run on the same sports business principles. What are those principles? You have corporate governance structures in place. You have systems. You have templates driving the league. What do they now do? They now create content out of the sports activities to generate, they commercialize the contents they create. The content is the sports activities. They commercialize these sports activities and sell to the public. That is the EPL we are consuming today. What we are just consuming today is the football content from the EPL. So you don't have to be in England to consume that content. The same thing with the NPFL. What are we expected to do? Commercialize the games, create the content, drive it with technology and quality, and sell to Nigeria and the whole world. That is the same NBA you watch. That is the same Indian Premier League you watch. And all of them derive their revenue majorly from TV rights, media rights. All. The NBA go and check their financials. The EPL go and check the financials. The IPL go and check the financials. Even the UEFA, FIFA, and IOC go and check their financials. They all generate about 60-70% of their revenue from media rights. The same thing. And that is what we are trying to do today. We need to get the Nigerian Premier Football League on television. We need to commercialize those activities, create those contents, drive it with technology. So it requires quite a lot of work, and not just one person. We as GTI, like we say, we are strategic partners. We are just drivers, ensuring that we put all these elements together. And one of the things we've done with this project is the Nigerian Football League, meaning that all funding coming to this league now.
I'm going to ask you to hold your thoughts. We need to take a short break. When we come back, we'll continue this conversation. Funding is very crucial to the success of the NPFL. How exactly is that doing as we speak? That and more after we come back. Later, we still have Nelson in the house with us, and we're talking about the TNFF. Objectives of the fund, Nelson. We're told that it is to seek to build a football economy within the Nigeria sports ecosystem, and the fund is packaged to provide sustainable solutions, bedeviling the development of Nigerian football with focus on the NPFL club sides. Now, you talked about generating funds before we took the break. Call me pessimistic, yeah, because I'm sure that's what the average Nigerian is as far as the NPFL is concerned, and raising funds is always a major issue. But how exactly is it that the Nigerian can easily buy into this idea and put his money in Nigerian football in a bid to help it grow?
Yes, one of the things the average investor will want to look at is he want to look at the system we are currently operating. Again, one of the most important things to them is the safety of funds and the management of funds, which is very, very key for them. And that is the system we have currently today. If you look at what we are doing, the referees today, we have put a system in place where the referees are being paid as at when due, before matches, not after. So some of the problems associated with the league in the past, you can quickly see the impact of just taking care of the referees aspect alone. You can see the impact in the league in terms of the officiation of the matches. Yeah, we will not say it is perfect, but people can see a remarkable improvement from what they used to see in the past, and the results are quite immediate. The investment are safe because under the fund is a Securities and Exchange regulated fund, and with that, we are always compelled to give records to provide accounts and also make returns on those funds. And it is also clearly defined there what the fund is meant for. With the kind of systems we have today, as far as revenues are coming in, and again, let me say this, all revenues generated by the league henceforth is going to be managed by the funds, and everything comes through that fund. It is from that fund all the other stakeholders are paid. So in terms of management of the revenue, we have that systems in place. In terms of the template driving the disbursement of the funds, the template is also clearly defined. So at the end of the day, the investors are also entitled to get a percentage of all these revenues as returns on their investments.
You've been keeping a close eye on the league, as you say, for the past 13 years, yeah? In terms of funds generated by the NPFL, averagely, what is it that the NPFL earns at the end of the season? And how much of an encouragement is that, really, for the Nigerian to want to put his funds into the league?
What we are looking at is this. The question, I mean, what are we earning averagely now? If you look at in the last 4-5 years, I mean, what is the revenue for the league? Almost next to nothing. Very, very patrisome compared to the expectations. The question is, why is it like that? Why is the league not earning revenue? A league that is not on television is a problem because sports business is about media. The moment you remove media from sports, remove media from the EPL today, the revenue is going to drop significantly. So one of the problems we also notice with the league, there's no media. The media is very poor. Apart from that, even the infrastructure, we need to improve on it. The commercialization of the contents, we need to improve on it. There are so many elements we need to improve upon to start attracting those revenues. And we know, so those are the things we are working on. I'll tell you this, and we've done quite a lot of work. We've also done quite a lot of studies, and we know the trend is the same all over the world. The IOC we watch today, the Olympics we watch today, we all know several years, some years back before 1984, it got to a point no country wanted to host the Olympics. Just like the stage we are now. Why? Because certain elements were not right. It took the US in 1984 Los Angeles Olympics to turn the game around. And it's all about working on those elements that will drive revenue.
But what are those elements that we're going to be working on?
Yes, one of the elements you must work on to drive revenues is to ensure you get the matches on television, which we are working with partners, not only in Nigeria, even abroad. And not only on digital satellite. You have to get the matches on digital satellite. You have to get it on free-to-air terrestrial. You have to also get those matches on OTT platforms, streaming platforms. Because you must create a system where people can watch those matches live.
No, so we had you in the studio about 2 or 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Has there been any progress from when you were last here and till now between your potential media partners? Or getting broadcast?
Yes, we've been having talks with some very serious partners from outside the country and also inside the country. And what we also been doing is to look at their proposals. And we are not talking to just one person. We have proposals, we evaluate those proposals to try to take decisions on the one that is best for Nigeria and best for our own system. and we are almost closing up one of those deals. And I will tell you this. You see, the 10 matches we have on weekly basis, even if you are dealing with a satellite broadcast, you can't have all the 10 matches through satellite broadcast on television because of the cost and so many other things that are involved. But somehow with technology, with the improvement of technology today, there are some least cost approach to ensuring that some of these matches are produced at very high quality too. And we are working with partners that have those competencies to deliver that. So what I'm trying to say is that before the end of this abridged league, we are looking at a situation where we'll be having all our matches live, if not all, most of the matches live. And we think that is a first step, because whatever you want to sell, people must be able to see what you want to sell. And what we are also looking at is not only the Nigerian space, we are also looking at the global.
When you say live,
market.
are you talking about cable or terrestrial or both?
All inclusive.
Streaming platforms.
All streaming. We are going to be exploiting all the value from all the broadcast platforms, streaming platforms, OTT, satellite broadcast.
When you say OTT,
OTT is the streaming platform.
So are there conversations on what should we expect? Because I already know that Remo Stars stream their games.
Yes.
I think Ben and Insurance also stream
Even
their games.
some of the clubs do that now.
So what will be the other platforms for us to look forward to that is not run by the clubs but instead by the GTI or maybe?
You see, what they are doing now, they are being allowed to do it because we've not provided an alternative yet. So it gets to a point, nobody does that in any league all over the world. Those things are controlled and managed. Nobody just, you don't take your camera to the field and just film and start broadcasting live to everyone. Even the clubs ordinarily are not even allowed to do that. But for now, there are a lot of things that are still taking place now that we allow because we are managing the system, and gradually we are going to correct all those shortcomings and deficiencies in the system, because broadcast is key. Media is key for sports, and it has to be properly controlled.
Have you considered radio as one of those platforms?
In fact, we are talking with someone now on radio. We are looking at a situation where we are going to have commentaries all over the country. Not only commentaries in English, commentaries in Pidgin English, commentaries in Yoruba language, in Igbo language, in Hausa language, in all the relevant, some basic languages that are peculiar to those teams. Because you see, once you have that, we need to expand the reach. We need to sell the Nigerian league to Nigerians and to the whole world. So for those of them that can't come to the stadium, they can be in their shop, in their businesses, and they tune the radio, they are listening to the commentary because they want to know what is happening to their own favorite team. So we are going to exploit all the platforms you can think of with broadcast and trying to reach out to the public.
Okay, as I said earlier, funding is very crucial to all of this. Yes. How do you get the average Nigerian to put his money where his mouth is? We have 5 million or 5 billion units to sell.
Yes.
Yeah?
That for us, even the 5 billion is just the takeoff point for us, because what is required is far, far more than that. Now, there must always be proof of concept, which is what we are doing now, that is doable. Let me also say this, and I keep repeating it. I'm also a stockbroker by profession, apart from the sports background I have. I understand both worlds very well. I understand the finance and investment banking world, and I also understand the sports management world very well. When it comes to commercialization of the sports world, I understand it very well. And when it comes to the dynamics of how the investment banking and the capital market works, I know that very well. What I'll tell you is this. Do your findings. There is no sports league all over the world properly run that is running at a loss. You can do your findings.
Well, that's where the problem lies.
Now, what we are doing is that you need to put certain basic things in place to win the trust of the public.
Yeah.
The trust of the partners. These partners have expectations. We are looking at the league as a business venture. We are not just looking at it as a football activity. The people managing the EPL don't look at the EPL as just the football mentality, as a football activity. They look at the business component of the whole project. And what they sell to the world is that business aspect that meets the needs and expectations of the various stakeholders they are dealing with.
Okay, but just to be clear, there are 5 billion units available as we speak.
The 5 billion units are available, registered and approved by SEC, and we encourage Nigerians to invest.
At how much?
For now, it's minimum of 100,000 naira per invest in multiple 100,000 units at 1 naira. But the price has increased to 102 now.
Oh, okay.
The price is now 102.
So it has appreciated.
It has appreciated, and I can tell you for free. I know how the stock market works. The stock market works on speculation and expectations. And the league, the moment the first deal is signed, that price is not going to remain the same again. And once that price starts moving, it's going to continue moving up. Because leagues all over the world, once they are properly managed and well run, with certain systems in place. And what we have done too, I must also let the public know, we are designing a system that will outlive all of us today. It's not about any individual running the league. It's about putting institutions and systems in place that works, and everyone can trust the transparency of that system. How do you feel at the end of the financial year, maybe end of this year, we are publishing the accounts of the league for the whole Nigeria to see how well the league has done in terms of the revenues generated, how those monies have been spent. What we have today is a system where we can account for every 1 kobo spent on this league, and every money that enters this league is going to be spent. We already have a template of how it's going to be spent. We are going to be upscaling all the facilities as we keep increasing the revenues. All the clubs are stakeholders. It's not unlike before where clubs don't even know their expectations. I can tell you today, the system we have on ground, all stakeholders know their expectations, clearly defined. So it's not a case of handout. It's not somebody not knowing, or a case of somebody say, I don't know what I'm supposed. You can look at, for example, I said, look at the referees now. They all know their expectations. They know this. They know this. They understand the system, and it's the system that is driving the whole thing. And that is what is going to drive
just to be sure, for the listener there, for you to invest in the TNFF, you need to have at least 100,000
minimum and in multiples of 100,000 units.
Okay.
Yes, it's 100,000 units and in multiples of 100,000 units. It was at par when the fund was launched, but as we speak today, it is 102.
So now you need to have 100 and how much?
102,000 naira.
102,000 naira.
Yes.
That's the least.
That's the minimum.
That's the minimum.
Yes, the minimum
that you need to invest. Okay.
And you can invest as much as you want to invest.
Okay. All right, let's take a few messages, and of course we'll take calls as well. Anything that borders on the TNFF or any other thing, we'll take them right here on the show.
Let's start with this one concerning the Nigerian League. It says, good morning, good ideas from your speaker in the studio. But then he's asking about some of the shenanigans that have happened recently in the Nigerian Nigerian Premier Football League, and saying, is that what we're trying to sell? There's also this here from Adeboiga, who says, good morning, Sports Zone. Everything said by your guest in the studio had been said over the years by different stakeholders in Nigeria, sports department. It says the issue remains that we know funding is crucial and important, right? It says importance of television. It says the question is, why is it so difficult for these things to come alive for us to grow our leagues?
But I don't agree with Adeboiga there. When it says everything, as we said, I think it's a novel idea having the TNFF, which is stock market based, Abi? Yes. So it's about people buying into that. And the very fact that they already have a pool of funds from which they are funding, the league is novel. That is novel in itself. The money is there.
And what was missing in the past, there was no corporate governance structures and financial discipline in the past. But now we have corporate governance systems and we have financial discipline in the old system.
Okay. A lack of financial discipline from the part of whom?
In the past, that was one of the major. Yes. That was, in fact, up till today.
On whose
discipline and transparency.
The managers of the sports sector. The biggest problem they suffer, even with the key critical stakeholders, is the problem of financial management.
I just need confirmation, because this is also what your media rep did tell me. He says that every sponsor, who intends to put his money in the league will have to come through you.
Yes, you have to come through us. Even if you speak to the managers of the league, at the end of the day, because all revenues are supposed to go into that fund, into the management of the system
Into
we
the
have
baskets,
created, into the single basket we have created for control purposes.
So nothing goes to the managers of the league.
From that pool, what is meant to go to them is given to them.
Is there a percentage?
There's a percentage, but that's not the kind of percentage I want to start discussing. What I've said is that for all stakeholders, the clubs, the referees, the league, the NFF, there is a template that we are working with. So once that funding, and also for the development of the league, the production of the matches, the development of the personnel in terms of talent development, in terms of human capital development, training, and all those, everything is incorporated. So, and we have that template. So when all these monies come in, the managers of the league only get that which is due for the management of the secretariat.
Is it also the responsibility of your group to source sponsors for the league?
Yes, we are also doing that.
Okay, let's read a few more messages concerning this Nigerian league. It says, on commercialization of the NPFL, I believe that the first step would be to take the ownership away from the states and privatize it. Clubs run with private earnings are more concerned with how much they make back and increase the value of these clubs. Thus, the club owners would even be the one to push for these TV rights and actually work overtime to increase the quality of the game and build an interest from the locality. It says these states affairs only care about staying on the table so they can keep collecting government money. There's no name to it.
Is this something that you agree with?
That's a very good. That's
Nelson,
a real message,
because I remember, yeah.
You see, look, you see, these are issues that have come up from time to time. I always remind you, like I said, I've been in the financial sector. Let's look at the banking sector in the 80s and early 90s. They were all dominated by government because that sector was not liberalized. And the moment it was liberalized and the private sector's participants moved into the banking sector, they created competition, they raised the bar very high. And what happened? With time, many of the state governments could not cope with the demands of the industry in terms of personnel quality, in terms of creation of products, in terms of even incentives to staff, salaries, and what have you. And again, what happened? All the good hands in those state banks were first of all taken by the private sector, and they were properly remunerated. It's a system thing. The moment you create the right system, I tell people, 4 or 5 years from now, you may not even have more than 5 government-owned clubs in the league. What the investors want to first of all see, do you have a transparent system running the league? Can those monies be accounted for? What are they supposed to be used for? Are they used for it? And what is our own benefit as private investors? When a private investor is taking over a football club in Nigeria today, from the system we have, he knows what comes to him from the revenue generated by the league is clearly defined.
So basically what you're saying is that any punter, any listener can sit with their website, they can just go there and see for themselves what's going on.
Yes, you can see what's going on. At least you can see what's going on. Like with time, people will begin to understand how this thing is working. You see, we still need a lot of education, a lot of public awareness there for all the investors and even the critical stakeholders. But I'll tell you, with the system we have put in place today, in another 1 or 2 years, a lot of private people who wants to own clubs will start making moves to acquire these clubs. Look, professional sports all over the world, go and check, is run by billionaires, not run by government.
Okay, let me read a few more messages because this one comes in very positive. So there's a long message. I'm just going to summarize. First, he spoke about the NFF situation with John Noble, right? Then goes and says, oh boy, how do I invest? Says, please, he should go there. Whatever he's selling and buying, that's talking about the NPFL, right? So how do...
What's the website?
The website is just Google the Nigerian Football Fund. You'll get the website. But the website is tnff.gti.com.ng. From that website, you fill the form online and you pay online. Okay. But if you're having problems, you can call the number on that website, or you come to our office number 14 Umbu Street on Lagos Island. You come, whatever clarifications, or you put a call to us through the contact you have on the website, and we'll respond to to whatever needs you have. But it's a very simple process. Go to the website, you see how to subscribe. You click, you see an online form. You just fill in the form and you submit online. You can make your payment by transfer, or you can just pay through the online platform that has been created there.
Thank you.
Wow.
Adedeji, you know that, look, when you send a message, your message is already saying nothing is going to come out of this. It is clearly what, because I read it. And we haven't even seen this process start to finish. So if something has gone wrong before, must we always say everything will go wrong? And that's why we've answered your question, that why not give it opportunity? Let's see it start.
Okay, Nelson, I know that the world, we all watch the Premier League, Bundesliga. We love what happens there and everything. We want to emulate all of that. But when we go the route of private enterprise, doesn't it take away the cultural aspect of the game as well? Is that something that you're concerned about? For instance, Enyimba Football Club, Kano Pillars, bought over by a private entity, and ultimately this individual wants to turn around the fortunes of the club, change the name of the club as well. Doesn't that take away the history of the club? Is that something that you're concerned with?
We are not concerned, because you see the business environment, the way it works. Somebody will always come with his offer and proposal. It's not left for you to want to accept it or not. But always remember that the private investor, in the case of league, has the opportunity to go and buy a team from the lower league, like Leventis did it some years back. They didn't come to the Premier League. Leventis knew what they wanted. They didn't bother asking any of the big clubs to sell their space. They went to the lower division, Division 3. They got all the best players in the Premier League. It's about what you pay. This whole thing is business. And from Division 3, they defeated all the clubs, won top the Division 3, came to Division 2, and came to Division 1. So what is going to happen is going to be a transition. It's not a question of whether you want to maintain tradition or not. If, for example, a prospective investor goes to one of the traditional clubs and says, okay, I want to take you over, he's going to be looking at keeping that brand. That traditional brand has its own brand value. And the name he's trying to introduce, he's going to weigh all those options. He's dealing with experts. He's going to be working with experts. He's going to weigh all those options. If he believes that that traditional name has brand value, he needs to maintain, because it's investment for him. He will maintain that name. But if he feels that the traditional brand value does not really carry much commercial value for him, fine. If they refuse that offer, no problem. He goes to a lower league, buys a club there, and if that happens, I'll tell you, it will only take about 4 or 5 years. Because I'll tell you this, let's just look at a case where a businessman or a Charles is not interested in the Nigerian Premier League because of the system running the Nigerian Premier League now. And he buys a club and he says, I want to pay all my players 3 million, 5 million naira per month. How many state government clubs are going to be willing to pay their players 5 million naira, 6 million naira per month? The private investor is a billionaire, can afford to do that because he has his business connections all over the world and he knows that he's going to make his money back.
Hello, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, great man of the zone.
Good morning.
Yeah, this is from Lucky. How are you guys doing today?
We're great.
Okay. Yeah, the gentleman there, I greet you.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, you have a lovely idea. But my concern is just the political shenanigans of this country. So you have answered all the questions, but you talked about the funding of Nigeria bank. But are you aware that even up to today, government and even politicians are still manipulating banking policy of this country? And in 2 months' time, a new minister, or let's say 3 months' time, or 4, a new minister will come in. What if he is a selfish one that does not want to key into this agenda? You know, have you thought about, all these funny things that happen in this country? The first chairman, another one might come in and come in with his own selfish agenda,
Okay, we get your point. We get your point.
All right. So, Nelson, how do you maintain a continuum a case of a change in the sports minister and all that, new government and all that.
We've actually looked at all that in terms of change of minister or even change of the NFF president. But you see, there are certain legal aspects that we are not giving attention to in the past, which has also created some gaps and loopholes for some of these things to occur. And that is what has taken us a while. We've been working on this arrangement with the league management for almost about 7 months to ensure that we looked at these gray areas and tied it up. What is happening now is that we have put a system in place where the Nigerians are now stakeholders in the league. They are now the investors in the league. The league has a connection now with the fund. The fund is a SEC-regulated fund, meaning there are certain expectations. You don't just come overnight and say, no, you want to cancel this. What happens to the investors that have invested in the league? So it is not so straightforward and simple the way people are looking at it, that you can just, as a minister, wake up overnight. The legal aspect of this whole thing, both in the short term and the long run, we've tidied up everything. In agreement with the NFF, in agreement with the minister, as I speak to you, we also have an MOU already signed with the NFF. So everybody is in agreement with all this. So
and the TNFF is registered with the Securities and Exchange.
TNFF itself, that is funding the league, is Nigerian investors' money, registered with Securities and Exchange Commission. Like I'll tell you, we've put a kind of system totally different from where we are coming from. What we have done with the corporate governance system is to even raise the bar above what you call the international threshold. So now investors, the system is structured in such a way that we don't expect those kind of things, because if it happens, it's going to completely, you won't be even helping the league. You will just destroy the whole league, and that will not be good for even the minister or even the NFF president or even anyone coming in now. The referees are happy with the system now. Are you going to dislodge the system that has given them comfort?
Okay.
I wanted to commend the man there in the studio with the brilliant ideas they've come up with. I have a fear. Nigerians are not bereft of ideas when it comes to issues. Now, this idea, as laudable as it is, once upon a time, Ambassador was in charge of the Nigerian League, and we got results. But how much did that last? The politicians will always find their way in punctuating and killing all of this because they want to bring in their thing. At the end of the day, they see it working. But I'm glad that I talked about the legal implications. And they have gone around. But in the Nigerian sector, I will only pray. I will be glad to want to also invest in the local league because I believe in it.
Yeah.
I've always been one person who has drummed, who has said that the Nigerian league must work. And players play for the national teams. The Nigerian league must have a quota compulsory.
You're going on. You're working.
I want to put in my money in this venture, but I hope that money can be guarded and be protected, so that at the end of the day, one thing does not happen one thing, and then I'll begin to roll tears down my cheek.
Okay, thank you very
All
much.
right, better go and buy now.
Billy Ajalai saying, good morning to the great sports crew. I'd like to know if these investors are going to have a proper contract, clearly defined to all involved. Three. Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay.
There's a
So that confirms that you are the one that said that message. It just confirms because you are potentially in contact with other
question
people.
about the protection of the
the investors.
Yes, I mean for the protection of the investment is the investment is protected, and that is why we have the fund. The fund is not just like any other fund. The fund is registered by the Securities and Exchange Commission, and when you go to the SEC to get your fund registered, it comes with a lot of responsibilities and obligations on the part of the fund managers, which we are compelled to comply with. So the fund is actually good. The investment is going to be safe. And for those people that are a bit skeptical, it is expected. I mean, for any new kind of system change, I mean, even like I said, even in the banking industry, in the capital market, in all sectors of the economy, once there's a change, you get people that are just a bit skeptical about this thing working. But you see, the good thing about this is if you don't invest now because you are skeptical, by the time you can see the system working, you pay 2 or 2.5 times the money you are supposed to invest now. And like I mentioned, don't see the league as just a football activity. The league is a sport asset that has capacity.
So see it as an investment
see
opportunity.
The league. I think the mistake is people are seeing the Nigerian Premier League as football activity. No. See the Nigerian Premier League as a sport asset that has capacity to generate lots of revenue. We have a lot of things working for us in this country. For all the foreign partners we have been talking to, they see the Nigerian NPFL as the most valuable sports property in the whole of Africa. The NPFL for them is the most valuable property in the whole of Africa because you have all the elements working in favor of the league. You have the talent, we have the youth, we have the economy to drive it, we have the market. If other leagues are profiting from our own market, definitely if we develop our product like what the music industry has demonstrated to the whole world, if we develop the sports sector, it's definitely going to profit.
We have to go, Nelson, but for the benefit of our listeners, if you put in a certain amount of money,
yes,
102,000 as of today,
yes,
projected returns would be what, 2 days from now, 2 years?
No, not 2 days. What we have there is we have the returns as MPRO plus 2. That is what we are working towards to give to investors. MPRO is currently 17.5%.
You're not addressing bankers or stuff. NPR is
yes, the prime the rate, the CBN rate, the prime rate for the CBN is 17.5% now. And we are looking at plus 2, which is plus 2%, which is about 19.55% returns to investors. But we've also done our homework very well. And
how soon will that be?
No, you are supposed to get that returns on your investment annually. But you don't have to wait annually before you can redeem your investment. Meaning, anytime you want to redeem your investment, you have the opportunity to redeem.
Okay, so if I invest 100,000 now,
yes,
a year after, I can be assured of an increase of 2.5.
Like I said, that is the expectation which we are working towards. But I'll tell you this, based on our work and all the
your
projections, in fact, this property has the potential to even give more than that, based on the targets and the projections we are working with. But like I also emphasize here, there are certain elements that are going to drive this whole process, and those elements are what we are working on now to ensure they're in place. But the moment we go past this level and the league, the property is well activated to generate revenue, I can tell you.
What's that time frame?
We are looking at about 2 years to 5 years. But at 4-5 years, the project would have fully matured.
Okay, we do have to go. But for those who want to invest, where do they need to go to make that investment?
Just access the Nigerian Football Fund website. Access the Nigerian Football Fund website, and you'll see how to subscribe there. Just go in there. You can fill it online, or you download the form you feel you want to bring it to our office. Fine. But it's always advisable to just download the form, fill it online, and
can you say the website one more time for clarity? Just one more time.
The website is tnff.gti.com.ng, or just Google the Nigerian Football Fund. To give you access to the website.
Thank you so much, Nelson, for being on the show. I know for sure you're not a Manchester United supporter.
No.
No, you're not. Well, there is something good.
I'm a Bender Insurance supporter.
Okay.
Keeping it homegrown. All right.
Okay.
One song I remember when I left this studio, and it's been ringing in my head all along. I don't know why that song is. 777 is a number. Oluwashi, no.
You know the funny thing. Sports will sign it out.
We are Lagos Talks 91.3.
Let's talk.